and remind you that this is being recorded for anyone that's not able to make it. So feel free. I know that you have all probably spent the day at school or doing other things. So I completely understand if you want to turn your camera off, but you're welcome to keep them on as well. So this is our Act for Alexandria Youth Philanthropy meeting. And like I said, we have our social media up there. Again, this is going to be recorded, so everything's going to be available, but it's a great way to keep updated and keep up to date with everything that's going on with the Youth Council. So feel free to give a follow. So I think the first question that I wanted to ask, and just to kind of get us started, was what show have you most recently binge watched? And you guys can go ahead and add that to the chat. I have to admit that my go-to will always be rewatching Office over and over and over again. But yeah, what have you all been watching? Brandy, would you mind reading a couple out? I don't know if anyone has responded yet.
Sure, we're still waiting for responses, but I can say that I have been loving that show, Ted Lasso. I'm probably not the only one. But yeah, who else out there? Anyone? Gilmore Girls, Criminal Minds and Sex Education, Squid Game, Supernatural, Outer Banks, Vampire Diaries, Breaking Bad.
My little sister's obsessed with Outer Banks right now.
Money Heist.
Ooh, I heard that one.
Mojo's Bizarre Adventure. Umbrella Academy.
Awesome. Well, thank you for everyone that's replying, and thank you, Brandy, for reading those out. I'm looking for more recommendations, so I'll definitely keep those in mind. So go ahead and getting started. Our session agenda for today, just so you know, what we'll be covering is we're going to talk about the vision for the Youth Council, how that got started, the program goals, so the things that we want to accomplish and kind of the purpose of the Youth Philanthropy Council, and then responsibilities and activities, so the things that you all will actually be doing as part of this program, should you choose to apply, what eligibility looks like, and then how to apply. And you'll have two options. That's the written application or the video application. And the timeline, what we're thinking moving forward, when things are due, when we'll be making those announcements, and then Q&A. So I want to go ahead and invite you right now. If you have any questions that come up during this session, go ahead and put them in the chat. And at the end, we'll start reading those off. So if you think of something that I don't cover, go ahead and drop it in the chat, and Brandy's going to share it with me. Okay. So when it comes to the vision of the Youth Council, we really started thinking about, okay, we want a program that's designed by youth for youth with the purpose of providing young people with the decision-making power and the funding to address key issues within the community. We talked to, community foundations. We talked to the City Youth Camp and Youth Conference, which I know some of you are actually coming from, or this is how you got the word. So we're happy to have you. We also got input from youth professionals. We worked with schools. We worked with just all sorts of groups that all weighed in. And of course, you all weighed in as well. Some people took the survey, which gave input into the process. And so we really wanted this to be like, not one more thing where the adults like take your interests and what you have to say, and it's like sits in a dusty old suggestion box. We really want this to be something that you all can take pride in, because you're the ones that designed it. You're the ones that are going to have the voice moving forward. So when it comes to the goals, number one is always improving the lives of Alexandria residents. It's one of ACT's goals. It's going to be the youth philanthropy goal moving forward. It's also equipping students as conveners for partnerships with schools. A big thing that ACT for Alexandria does is they act as conveners, meaning that they create linkages between people and organizations to strengthen their programs. And so we know that you guys are kind of in a unique position in schools where, you could provide that link and you could have a big say in what goes on there and use your advocacy to kind of create those linkages. Another is connecting with youth to promote early engagement with philanthropy and decision-making. We want to get people involved early. I myself was involved very early in philanthropy, and I can only say that I think it shaped me for the better, and I've really gotten a lot of opportunities because I had people that really exposed me to volunteering and helping out in the community early. And I think so that I have a personal tie to that as well. Another is creating a leadership development program that fosters personal growth and professional opportunities. And that's something we're going to talk about a little later, but there's going to be a lot of opportunities for like learning about job opportunities, how to get a job in the field, workshops, trainings, guest speakers that can help network. I know that at the youth camp and the youth conference, a big thing was networking. So we're going to discuss that going forward. So one of the questions that we got, I know when you registered for the Zoom meeting, you were asked to submit a question if you had one. And one of the questions we got was, how did past youth council members deal with this? And the truth is that this is actually the first year that we're offering this. So this is a pilot program, which is really unique in a way because it means that whoever's on this council is driving and guiding the principles of what's going to be, the precedent moving forward. So a big part of that is, a big part of what ACT does is they try to identify issues within the community and then launch programs or services to help address them. And so that's largely what the Youth Council is going to do as well, except the difference is that your programs are going to be aimed specifically at youth-related issues. So what it would look like is that Youth Council members would select either one or a couple issues related to youth each year. And this is going to be the really cool thing because it can change year to year. So if the Youth Council is made up of one group one year that really, really wants to focus on, say, youth mental health, and then the next year they're like, no, we really care about housing and homelessness for young people. It can change based on what the interests are for that year. And then from there, you would kind of gain skills. A big part of this is that we're going to be, like I said, working with doing workshops and trainings and different things like that to be able to give you all the skills to go ahead and create programs that are designed for youth. And then also, in addition to building those programs, to be able to take an active part in that advocacy and that community organizing and connecting with nonprofits and city officials and different things. We're not just going to throw you out and say, good luck, see you in a month. We're going to make sure that you all feel equipped and confident in your abilities before we go ahead and move forward with those processes. So from there, another big part of that is that we would have monthly team meetings. So a lot of people asked about what the time commitment looks like for this program. And the answer is that we've gotten a lot of feedback from you all regarding, I do this and this and this and this outside of school. And we understand that you all are so incredibly busy. And so we don't want this to be a huge time commitment, but we do want to create an emphasis on the fact that we do expect some sort of time commitment. So it's not going to be a lot. We have allotted about 10 hours per month for these programs. And so one of the things that we'll be doing is having monthly team meetings. And that's where you're going to get the workshops and the guidance and the trainings. And that's where we're going to do the major planning for our programs and stuff. But then you'll also be expected to work outside of that and convene with the people on the Youth Council and work as a group to kind of address those issues in the meantime, or work on things that we talk about in the planning meetings in between those times. But again, it's going to be largely based on your initiative and what you all plan. One of the big things is that we want this to be really driven by people that are proactive and want to get ahead and are excited to work on an issue, not something where it's like one more group assignment, we don't want it to be like that at all. So that being said, another thing that we want to make sure that we emphasize is that all members will receive a stipend for their participation. We know that this is a time commitment, and because we're asking for time from you all, we want to make sure that you're fairly compensated. And part of that is that we know that not everyone's in a position of privilege where they don't have to work outside the home and they can just take on, 10 hours a month without being compensated. And that's not where we're coming from. We want to make sure that your effort is appreciated and is paid just like any other job. So that being said, what does membership eligibility look like? So there's not a lot. We wanted to make sure that there were really low barriers to entry. So one of the things that I want to emphasize is that we're never going to ask you for your grades, your report, a resume, except unless we're, working on like building your resume or you're getting feedback on a resume, but we're never going to ask for it in an application. We're never going to ask for letters of recommendation from teachers or parents, because we're not really looking for the shining stars of every school who get every opportunity and have the top grades and things like that. Not saying that we wouldn't welcome those people onto the youth council, but we're really looking for people that are representative of what Alexandria is. And that's not only in, race and ethnicity and gender, but also walks of life, experiences, just things that you're a part of. We want to make sure that the youth council is not a monolith. It's not one group that's running it. And it's not the group that already has 10 things on their plate and can't take any more time. So we just want to make sure that it's people that, like I said earlier, are self-starters, people that have initiative, and people more than anything that have a passion for improving their community and have ideas about how to do it. The other two things are pretty straightforward. It's just that you have to be a high school student in grades 9, 10, or 11. And then you must either attend a school or live in Alexandria. So you don't have to do both, and it's not necessarily like City of Alexandria zip codes. But if your address says Alexandria or your school is in a place that says Alexandria, Virginia, then you are eligible to apply. Okay, and then actual how to apply. So the link to the application is here. I just wanted it here for reference. I should also add that everything that we're talking about right now is going to be made available on our website, which is actforalexandria.org. I also have all of your emails, obviously, because you registered through Zoom. So whatever happens or whatever questions are asked tonight, just know that you'll have this as a resource. So no need to memorize any sort of links. Actually, I'm going to ask Brandy or Leanne if you have a chance to add just our actforalexandria.org website to the chat. But again, so everything's going to be online. This presentation slide is going to be online. You'll get an email tomorrow, so don't worry. So the actual application, one of the things that I want to point out is that we, just like, in our process of having this info session, we want to make sure that it's as little burden for you all as possible. So we didn't want to create an application that was like all essays and, or that were just the typical, questions that merit like a Miss America response, like, I want world peace or, whatever. We just wanted to make it so that it's something where you're interested in responding and something where it doesn't take you a lot of time or a lot of commitment to do, but we can learn a lot by the answers you give. So one of the things that we're going to have is you're going to go to this application, and then there's going to be questions 1 through 6. I want to point out that everybody is required to answer questions 1 through 6, regardless of whether you choose video format or written format. So you'll go to this link, and the questions will be contact information, demographic information, asking how you heard about the opportunity for our own purposes, and then asking if you're able to commit 10 hours per month for this program. And that's just kind of being honest with yourself. A lot of people asked about, well, what if I have this going on and this going on? I think that no one knows your schedule and the amount of time you have available better than you. So that being said, if you can't commit 10 hours per month, I don't think that this is necessarily the opportunity for you. But I would say that if you have any doubts or you have any concerns, go ahead and reach out to me, and I'll have my email at the end. So if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, I know that you all are just crazy busy and your schedules are insane. So just let me know. Then for the remainder of the application, you either choose the written option or the video option. So that being said, if you're doing the written option, you're just going to complete that application as is. So questions 1 through 12, complete it online, and then you'll turn it in. If you choose the video option, you'll only do questions 1 through 6, which is just that demographic information. And then it'll ask you to stop before going forward. And if you choose the video option, you'll then either submit that video to me via email, or you'll do it via Dropbox. And that information, again, is going to be on our website, and I'll explain it a little more in the following slide. But whether you choose written or whether you choose video, you'll be answering the same short response questions, which are these 6 right here. So the first one is kind of asking about how you do working in groups and your experience with working in groups. The next one is talking about advocacy and being able to use your voice. That's a big thing that we want to focus on for this program. And so we really want to make sure that, we know what issues you're speaking up on, what you're interested in, what you've seen around your community. I mean, your response may be much different than the person next to you. And then what do you hope to learn and what can you bring to this group? We want to know about, your unique experiences. Again, I'm going to say that we want it to be representative of all of Alexandria. So that being said, we want to know what experiences you can bring to the table, and everyone's going to have a different answer for that one. Our next one is just, we wanted to know what excites you in life, what gives you energy outside of school. It can be a passion, a hobby, like an idea, anything that just really gives you hope, makes you look forward to things. And I know that you all have long days at school sometimes or with other things. And so we just want to know what energizes you outside of that. And then what do you think is your biggest challenge in your community right now? Again, we want to hear what you think the issues are within your community and just why it's important to you. Why does it kind of hit home? Why does it stick with you? And then our last question is just, is there anything else that you would like to share that was not asked? And this can be, some extra information that you feel is important to you, or it can be, hey, I need accommodations for, this. And just let us know if there's anything that we need to know moving forward. And that's just kind of almost like a blank space for you to just add whatever that we didn't ask you that you think would be worthwhile on the application. So just an application recap is you have 2 options, written option or video option. Written option is the simplest, but the reason that we gave these 2 options is that we understand that some people are very strong in writing and some people are really strong and extroverted. I know that I myself would probably choose the written option. I'm a better writer than I am a speaker, obviously. But Brandy, my colleague on here, is very extroverted and she's fantastic at explaining herself. And so she might choose the video option. We just want to make sure that everybody feels comfortable and like they're putting their best foot forward when they're filling out this application. Something that I want to stress also is that whether you fill out the written or the video option, we're not looking at grammar, we're not looking at punctuation, we're looking at the ideas that you're trying to get across. Like I said, and I'll stress again, this is not an essay. If you do the written option or if you do the video option, it's just brief responses. And the other thing is that you might feel stronger on one question than you do about another, and that's fine. And you can give more details about one question than you do to the other because you feel like you're more passionate or you can answer it better. That's fine. We just want to see that you answer all of them. So if you choose the written option, pretty simple. Like I said, questions 1 through 12, you'll just fill out that online application and then turn it in. If you choose the video option, you'll complete questions 1 through 6 on that application, that online application. And then you can either submit your video in MP4 format to my email address, which is here, or through the Dropbox link, which I will give you in the follow-up email. And so Dropbox is pretty simple. You just go to that link, then you would click upload video, then you drop your video in. So those are your 2 options. And we move forward, just thinking about the timeline. Application open today. So congratulations to everyone that's here. You kind of get a walkthrough, a first look at what the application actually looks like. It's available on our website. So anytime between now and November 1st at 11:59, you can turn in your application. Once that deadline hit, we're going to start reviewing applications as a team. And then you'll be informed of whether or not you're selected by November 15th, so 2 weeks later. And then the fun part, which is in early December, we know that people have plans for Christmas or Hanukkah or holidays. And so we want to make sure that before your semester ends, that we have just an informal get together. And it could be even like a holiday party or just just like a little get together where we get to know one another. And you get the opportunity to introduce yourself. We can have a little bit of fun, and then we can talk about like planning and things that you need to know moving forward. And then our programs are really going to start up in your second semester, which is, in mid to late January. So that's what we have so far. That being said, I don't think that we're going to take the whole hour for this meeting, but I wanted to get started on questions. And so I'll give it to Brandy now. And Brandy, do we have any questions that have come in through the group chat that I haven't answered?
Yes, Molly. Okay, so thank you for sharing all that information. One question was, will service hours be offered in addition to stipends?
That's a good question. So from my understanding, if you're doing service hours, you can accept the stipend. So I think we'd be willing to do one or the other, but I know that service hours can and oftentimes can't be paid. But if the stipulations for what you're doing say that that they can be paid or unpaid, then just let us know. We have no problem on signing off on those service hours.
Great. Okay. The other question was, can you remind people when the application is due?
Yes. So the application is due on November 1st at 11:59. So you have all of October to fill out that application.
And how many people will be selected to be members of the Youth Council?
Oh, that's a great question. I didn't mention that, but we got a lot of feedback from our survey that I mentioned earlier that we had a lot of you take that. In fact, we had over 400 people that weighed in, so we got a lot of great input. And what we heard was that you all obviously have a lot of experience with group activities, and some people feel very strongly one way or another about the size. We've decided that our cap would be at 10 people. We really want this to be a collaborative initiative. And with more people, it tends to be difficult to kind of get together and decide on things. With less people, it's always difficult when you can't get a majority to show up. So 10 is our cap.
Great. Okay, another question. Would the majority of the 10 hours per month be spent in meetings, or would the 10 hours be spent volunteering with or in the community and working on projects with one another?
That's another great question. So our monthly meetings would be capped at probably around 2 hours. I think it depends on the month. Some months we might have more planning to do than others. And the majority of the time would not necessarily be spent volunteering. It would be spent planning with members of your group. And this can be in the sense that, if you're working on individual, documents that you're creating for this volunteer opportunity that's coming up, or this marketing opportunity, that'd be more individual work, or you'd be working with a partner or working with a group. So it's not necessarily volunteering. It's more your projects in between, like if you have a group project, you work on some things individually and then you meet up as a group to discuss them. It'd be kind of the same idea. So it'd be based on your initiative. And that being said, 10 hours is a cap. We don't anticipate ever going over that, but we want to just be respectful of your time and understand that like 10 is the most we will ever do. Some months, in January when we're ramping back up, it may be more like 5 hours. So that's just like a maximum for us. But yeah, that's a great question.
Okay, here's another one that talks about the meetings. So it sounds like people will be meeting every month as a group. Do you know what day and if it would be in person?
Great. So we're waiting to figure out. So based on the applications, we will review them and then we'll select. Once we have our group, we will send out kind of like a doodle poll. I don't know if anyone's ever taken doodle polls, but just to kind of get your schedules. And so we're open to weekend meetings, or it can be weekdays. We know that you all kind of have crazy schedules, so we know people will probably prefer the weekends. But it will be dependent on what you all say. So whatever you all decide for this year, those will be your meeting time. And as far as in-person or virtual, again, we'll be sending out kind of a survey for the people that are chosen to fill out. And if people are uncomfortable with being in person, then it'll be virtual.
Great, thank you. Another question, this goes to the application. Should the video application be one video per question or one video that includes responses to all of the questions?
Just one video, one video for all the questions. We don't want it to be too complicated. You can just go ahead and just list off your responses for them.
Is there a maximum number of like minutes or time limit on the video that you're submitting?
We don't have a minimum or maximum. I'd say as a good rule of thumb, if it's 5 questions, probably a minute per question, max 2. So like 5 to 10 minutes for your video.
Great, thank you. Okay, I don't see any other questions in the chat, but people can either drop them in the chat or you can direct message me your questions as well. My name is Brandy.
And I will add that one thing that I wasn't sure we would get time for, but as we're waiting for more questions, I just wanted to go ahead and launch a poll. And speaking to that question, it actually reminded me. So one of the questions was, where would you like to have the monthly meetings? And so I'm going to go ahead and launch that now. And if people wouldn't mind responding, or you're thinking, some people suggested high school. Some people said, you know, Act for Alexandria is actually on the waterfront in Old Town. And as someone who's new to the office there, it is pretty cool. So that was another option. Virtual platform, again, if you're uncomfortable, especially in the next couple months, as you know, the variants and things like that have been causing difficulties, we can also offer a virtual platform. Or if you have another idea about where we could meet, go ahead and tell us in the chat. It looks like a lot of people are saying Act for Alexandria's office in Old Town. Is kind of the big, which is cool. I think it's a really, really, really cool office. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and end that poll. Like I said, it looks like most people said Act for Alexandria's office, and then some said virtual. So we'll take that into account moving forward. And then once.
Oh, Molly, I was going to say, do you want to share a little bit about ACT's office and what makes it kind of unique?
Yes. Okay. So ACT's office is basically a community center. Brandy and Leanna can probably explain it better than I can. I'm new to the office. I might add that as well. So I've worked with my team pretty much entirely virtual up until now. But it's really cool because it's a shared office space. So they're all different like organizations and businesses also operating out of there. So there's like a shared community space where it's, you know, it's right on the waterfront, but then there are also our individual offices, then there are conference rooms. But all that to say is that it's really got a cool scene. So if you guys know where the Torpedo Factory is, which I'm actually like representing them, you can't see, but I'm wearing my t-shirt for the Torpedo Factory. But we're right next door to them. So right to the left of them. So it's right on the waterfront. It's just a very, very cool space. Did I miss anything about that, Brandy?
No, I think just the space is called ALX Community Waterfront. And so there are locations all across the city, but they are a co-working space. So if you heard of something like a WeWork where different groups have office space or use the space that's available, rent different offices or rent just a desk somewhere. So it's a great creative, kind of an innovative place for people to share ideas and kind of network with people who are outside of their organization. So I have a feeling that people will be really excited to know that some of the youth in Alexandria are going to be using the space.
It's very fun. You bump into people that you wouldn't expect there, and you meet a lot of people through it. So it is a really cool space. And then thank you so much for answering that poll. I think we had another one. Go ahead and look. Yeah, so we have one more question. And so it says, which of the following might make it difficult to participate as a youth council member? We just want to take this into account. So if there are transportation needs, if there are access to technology, family responsibilities, time commitments, just trying to work with you as much as possible and understand the needs that you have, because we know that you all are in school, you have activities, you have family commitments, you have all sorts of things. We just want to make this as interesting, as engaging, as easy as it can be for you all to participate, knowing that you all have different experiences and responsibilities. And we've heard a little bit already. I think in the questions that were submitted, a lot of people said time commitments. And that's what it looks like. It was the top one, was time commitments and then transportation. So we'll take that into account, moving forward and see what we can do to try and help kind of bridge those gaps for you and to make it, like I said, as easy as possible to participate. If you all have any other questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. Brandy, I wasn't sure if any others came in.
Not yet.
Okay. Well, if there aren't any other questions, I'm going to go ahead and show you. This is my email address. It's molly.klein@actforalexandria.org. I know that I always think of my best questions after the actual meeting. So if that happens to you and you have anything that you feel like you should have asked or wasn't answered, or even when you're completing the application, if something comes up, go ahead and just shoot me an email. I usually reply within the day, unless it's a very busy day. And I'll be happy to answer your questions or help you out in any way. If you have technology challenges and need, a written application or anything else, just go ahead and shoot me an email. And if there's not anything else, I can give you all 25 minutes back in your day. So I just want to thank you all again for taking the time out of your day to kind of learn a little bit more about Youth Council. Hopefully this made you want to fill out the application. So be looking out for that email tomorrow. It'll kind of contain everything you need to know about applying, about how to stay updated, about the timeline, pretty much everything we talked about here. We'll have all the links there. So thank you. Oh, it looks like Peyton, did you have a question? I see a hand raised. All right, well, if not, thank you again. We really appreciate your time, and I hope you all have a great rest of your night.
Bye, thank you.